In this section, I want to show you how you can fully define your shape, and of course I want to talk about quick trim tool as well. So selecting YZ plane and clicking on the sketch button will take me to the sketch environment. You can see that I have disabled the geometrical constraint for first I want to do this. So let's go and select profile tool. I wanted to draw some arbitrary shape like this, right, down, right. You can see sometimes I see the quick guides or smart guides like this. I don't want to use them, so I go up, right, and by seeing this full circle I can close my shape like this. Now I want to draw some more items. I go select rectangle, draw a rectangle like this here. And I want to have a circle. I draw a circle like this here. Okay, now I want to move the circle a little down like this. Now I want to add some constraints to my shape. And before that, I have some extra lines. I don't want to have them, so I need to delete them. I click on this and press delete button. And I want to delete some of this line and not all of it. If I click on this and press delete button, you can see that the whole line is gone. I press Ctrl Z. Instead of this, I can go to Operations toolbar and select Quick Trim tool from here. Or I can go to Insert menu, go to Operations, go to Transform, go to Relimitations and select Quick Trim from here. Clicking this and clicking on the line will remove the extra part of it. And if I had constraints defined, if I had geometrical constraints enabled, and I selected the quick trim, you would see that by clicking on this, some extra coincidences will happen here. And I don't want to have these coincidences or other constraints, so I go and disable the geometrical constraints for now. I disable these constraints as well. And again, I select Quick Trim tool, delete this line, select Quick Trim tool, delete this part of circle, select Quick Trim tool, and delete this line. Now I have my shape like this. Now I want some of my lines to be vertical, some of my lines to be horizontal. So let me first select this line and make it horizontal. It may distort my profile, but that's okay. I will correct it later. You can see that it tells me this constraint is temporary because you didn't enable the constraint defined. I click on OK, you can see that it is distorted. I cancel this out. I don't want to have this like this. So to stop distorting your shape, you need to add some more constraints first and then go to horizontal. So let me select constraints, geometrical constraints, and enable it. First of all, I need to make sure that this is horizontal. So I select this. I can have this, I press Control button, this, and this. You can see that I have selected several lines. Release Control button and go to Constraint Define and select horizontal here. Now by having these, if I select this line and make it horizontal, the distortion is, no, that's too much. Let me do this way. First of all, I need to have this vertical, and I know that this affects less. Have this vertical and clicking on OK. I need to select this line and add some length here. You can see that this is 7. I double click on this and make it 20. Now it goes up a little bit, or make it 30 is even, or 40 is even better. And now I select this line and make it about 20. Now you can see this is like this. I need all these lines to be in one line, so I select this one and select this one and go and add the constraints of coincidence. I click on this. I want to make sure that this line and this line are in coincidence to each other again. Now I have these, so I can go and select this and make it horizontal and see what happens. You can see that it distorts less. That's okay. Now this should be vertical. Press Control button, this should be vertical, and this should be vertical, and of course this one. So I release control button and go here, select vertical. Now you should see that this is distorting a little bit. I press control button, select this one and this one and this one. These should be horizontal. Releasing control button and clicking on horizontal makes it like this. And I need to have these two to be vertical as well. So I select these two and select vertical. Okay. Now I need to add more constraints to my shape. First of all, I want to make sure that this line, press control button, this line, and I select this vertical axis and release my control button. I want to make sure that these two lines are in symmetry according to this horizontal vector. So I press control button and selected the first the two lines, and after that selected the vertical axis. So I go to constraint define and select symmetry, and you can see that they change a little bit. So that's okay. Now I want to have symmetry between these two lines again. So I select this line and I can move it to left like this. And press control button and select this line. And this time, instead of symmetry, I want to show you another constraint. Still have the control button pressed. You can go and select a point like the origin, and the origin is the point that I want to select, or I can select any other point that is mean. So I select the origin here, and now release control button and open constraint define. You can see that equidistance point is active, and these are the same as symmetry, but here instead of a line I selected a point. So I click on OK. You can see that these have some shapes like this. Okay, now I want to click on this. Let me press control button and down arrow key once. By selecting this top line and adding a constraint of length, you can see that two of my lines turn green. This means that these two lines are fully defined. They do not need any extra constraint. So I want this to be about 40 millimeters. So I type in here. Now you can see that these two lines are moving according to the constraint, and they are exactly in symmetry according to the vertical axis. Okay, now I want this center of this circle. I select it, and I select this horizontal line. Press control button, selecting this. I want them to be in coincidence. So I select it, select coincidence. Now you can see that it moves the shape like this, and clicking on OK. There is a coincidence here. Selecting the constraint tool and clicking the circle, or the arc actually, will show you the radius. I want to change it to 20. Now I need to add some more constraints here. For example, I click on constraint tool, select this vertical line here, and you can see that it adds some constraints like this. Click here, it is 10 millimeter, that's okay. And again, I want to select it by using constraint tool, selecting constraint tool and clicking on this. And this time you can see that it turns purple. That means that you are over defining your shape. I'm not going to over define, I'm actually doing something else. I want to click on vertical axis again. Now you can see that the distance between these two lines are here. So I click here, I double click on this, make it 10 millimeter, but I want it to be in the other side. So I click on more, you can see the swap location. Clicking on this will swap the location on line. So I click on OK, that's it. Now I click on this line, press constraints. This is gonna be about 25 millimeters. Now I have this. Now I need to add some more constraints here. For example, I want to select this line, press control button, select this vertical axis, and make sure that they have about 120 millimeters in distance. Now again, select this line, and the vertical axis, and release control button, adding a symmetry. And because this has 120 millimeter, the other line changes its position to show the to reflect the symmetry. Okay, now I want this line and this line. Now I select these two lines and I go and select constraints, define dialog box. They can have parallelism, and this makes sure that these two are parallel to each other. I don't want to have this right now, but I just showed you. I have coincidence. I want them to be in same height. So I select OK, and I can see that this is there. Now I need more constraints again. I select constraints, select this, the horizontal axis, and select this line, and you can see the distance between these two should be about, for example, 50 millimeters. Most of my shape has turned to green. Now I need more tiles. So this is symmetry. I have the symmetry. I need to click on constraint tool, select this line, and now clicking on horizontal line, you can see that this is over defining. So I press Ctrl Z. What I need more is actually this line, pressing Ctrl button on this line, and I want to have symmetry between these two. And actually not symmetry, actually coincidence. Now you can see that these two will turn to green, and the only thing that remains is one thing. So I select constraint, select the distance between one of these lines, doesn't matter which one, for example this one, and select this vertical axis. Now you can see that this is 80 millimeter. My shape is not fully defined, of course. I need to add one more piece of constraint, and that's the distance between this circle's center and, for example, press Ctrl button in vertical axis. Now clicking on constraint, we'll add this, and I have it, for example, 80 millimeter. Now what do I need to add here? I guess the height of this will finish my shape, and that's it. That's gonna be 60 millimeter. Now you can see that my sketch is fully defined. Every piece of this sketch is green. That means I am fully defining this. So I exit my workbench. If I open part body, I can see the sketch here. Double clicking on this sketch will take me back to its definition. If I add more constraints, what will happen? Let me do this. I click on this constraint tool and add constraints. For example, here you can see that this is over defining, and it tells me that it's over defined by showing this purple color. And if I try to exit my workbench in this situation, it will give me an error message. This tells me that you are over defining your constraints. So I close this. You can see this yellow sign here near the sketch. I double click the sketch and go back to sketching and remove one of these. And you can see that the over definition is gone, so I can exit my workbench like this.